Hello guys, how's it going? I hope you are doing well in these days of lockdown. Today we are going to talk about lesson 9.5. It's reversible reaction. Um, in that reaction, in that lesson, we are going to discuss the meaning of reversible reaction. What's the meaning of reversible reaction? We will take some examples of reversible reactions and the benefit of those reversible reaction. And also, we are going to discuss a situation that we reach if we have a closed container and we put a reversible reaction inside a closed container, we will reach a case. We call this case dynamic equilibrium. I'm going to define each part of that definition. And that's it. Let's start. I will start my lesson with a video for common reversible reaction. We conduct this reaction in the lab. That reaction, it's a reaction for a salt. That salt, it's called copper sulfate. This copper sulfate, when it's hydrated, it means inside the crystals we have H2O. We have blue color for the crystals, okay? um, Adding some drops of water to that salt, um, it will give me the hydrated form. If we heat this hydrous copper sulfate, I'm going to remove water from the crystals of those salt to produce what? Anhydrous copper sulfate. In that experiment, he will start. He will start with water water and some copper sulfate hydrated. And we have here a stand, a Bunsen burner, spatula, and some water inside a beaker. Let's, he put, he put a boiling tube and fix it on the clamp here, by the clamp on the stand. This is clamp and this is stand. Okay. He's going to add some copper hydrated copper sulfate using spatula. You will fill it inside the boiling tube here. Then he will use Bunsen burner in order to heat this salt. He did something here. He start with a flame. That flame was orange color. It means the flame is not too strong. In order to make it stronger, I will close, or I will open air hole at the bottom of that Bunsen burner in order to increase the content of oxygen to get stronger flame. Okay, this point is a technique of the Bunsen burner. So he will start heating this salt using Bunsen burner, and we will see what will happen for that salt after heating it. I can see here that we have all of that boiling tube. At the end of the experiment, we can see that the color of the salt becomes white after removing water from the crystals. Okay? In order to reverse that case and reverse the change, I'm going to add some drops of water to my copper sulfate. You can see here that the color turns blue after we add some water to get hydrous copper sulfate. Okay, so guys, this reversible reaction, um, we can write it using, we can write it on a chemical reaction. He started the equation or the experiment with hydrous copper sulfate. The hydrous copper sulfate, it's CuSO4 0.5H2O. This 5H2O, it means we have hydrous copper sulfate. By heating, I will produce anhydrous copper sulfate. It means copper sulfate without H2O. I will separate them using plus. So by heating, I will do what? I will produce anhydrous copper sulfate. By adding some drops, I will reverse the situation and I'm going to obtain hydrous copper sulfate. So in order to show a reversible reaction, we can write the arrow of the so that reaction, it's an example for reversible reaction. Let's take another example. It's cobalt chloride, CoCl2. Okay, this cobalt chloride, it's manufactured on a type of a paper. Okay, we can see it in the lab in the paper form. This cobalt chloride, if we add water to it, also I'm going to see hydrous cobalt chloride. Hydrous cobalt chloride. It's another example for reversible reaction. Let's see a video on it. Okay, this cobalt chloride paper, they are pinkish color as we have water inside them. He start heating them in order to remove out all of the vapor, and we can see the vapor droplets on the neck of the test tube or boiling tube. I'm going to use boiling tube in order to handle out the heat. So he removed all of the water from the cobalt chloride. By removing this, we can see that we have a blue color paper. This is anhydrous cobalt chloride paper. He will reverse that reaction by adding some drops of water. Let's see, he put here white paper in order to see the color clearly. After adding one drop, we get the pinkish color, the pink color for cobalt chloride, the hydrated cobalt chloride. Okay, so guys, these two chemical reactions, they are reversible reaction and they are important reaction. Why? Because we can use them as a chemical test for water. You can face some questions in the past papers. How can you test a solution or a liquid, and that liquid is colorless liquid, and we need you to test it chemically. In order to test colorless liquid, these reversible reactions are a good chemical tests for water. You will say, I will add copper sulfate, anhydrous copper sulfate. I will add some drops of that solution on my copper sulfate. If we have a changing in color from white to blue, it means we have water. And also we can use cobalt chloride color, a cobalt chloride paper.